Ladies and gentlemen, this was one of the final games between Tal and Bobby, played in 1970. I just quickly like to share these heartwarming images of Bobby visiting Tal in hospital, believe it was in 68. According to the article, Bobby was the only chess player to visit him there during the tournament, so they were friends to say. So anyway, Tal opens with e4, Bobby plays c5, the Sicilian defense, knight f3 and d6. Tal goes on to develop his other knight to c3, Bobby pushes e5, sort of a stone wall in the center. Tal develops bishop to c4 and prepares to castle. Bobby does the same with bishop to e7. We have d3 from Tal. This move also makes space to develop his dark squared bishop. Knight to f6 from Bobby, preparing to castle on the king side. We have castles, and Bobby first develops his knight to c6. The engine actually prefers to keep it simple and just castle in this position. We get knight to e1, making space to open the center with f4 at some stage. So now Bobby castles and we get f4. Here Tal trying to open things up. a6 from Bobby. The engine actually wanted e takes f in this position for black. a4 from Tal in order to stop b5 from coming. And in this case, the engine wanted Tal actually to push f5. Okay, we get takes and takes while developing the dark squared bishop. Bobby also gets his bishop developed to d6. Tal takes. The engine thought that knight to d5 was better instead of trading the pieces. Anyway, Bobby recaptures. Tal plays bishop to g3, opening the file for his rook. Bobby develops queen to d6, hitting the b pawn. Tal says, take my pawn, Bobby. I'll play queen to d2, also connecting his rooks at the same time. Note, if you go pawn grabbing, it gets very ugly. So, for instance, if you go takes, attack the queen, and then counter attacking the queen, we get takes back, take with check, and then attacking the other queen again, get takes, and this results in plus 4.4 for white. So black should rather not take the pawn. So going back. So in this game we got knight to g4 offering a rook trade. Tal declines the trade and improves his knight instead. Now Bobby plays knight to d4, creating tension between the knights. Now we get a rook to b1 from Tal, defending his pawn. We get takes and takes, hitting the knight. And just as a side note, always be careful in these type of positions as a white with a possible discovery on the king. In this case, there's no pieces on the third rank to target, so that's fine. Now we get knight to e5 from Bobby, now with two attackers on the f-pawn and only one defender. Tal adds a defender to the pawn, so now there's two attackers and two defenders. Here the engine simply wanted f4. Okay, Bobby reroutes his knight, aiming for the h4 square. Tal brings his knight closer to the king side, as it was not doing much there anyway. We get knight to h4, check from Bobby. And if this knight is not captured, then you lose the f-pawn. So we get takes, and b4, trying to open things up on the queen side. We get queen to c7, getting out of the pin. And it could also be a better attacker when on the 7th rank, being able to swing over to the king side. We get takes and takes, both players now having 3 pawn islands. Now we get a5 with the idea of taking advantage of Bobby's backwards b-pawn. We get a rook to f6, preparing to double on the f-file. f4 from Tal. The f-pawn is now nicely defended by the rook, knight and queen. Bobby doubles up on the f-file. So now we have 3 attackers and 3 defenders on the f-pawn. Rook to b6 from Tal, hitting the pawn. Bishop to g5. And we have 4 attackers on the f4 square. Note, you shouldn't take the bishop, otherwise you get into trouble as follows. So let's say if you take the bishop, you now with ideas to win the queen and also bring the queen over. So don't take the bishop, and the bar is also minus 6.7 for black. So in the game we got e5 attacking the rook, also interfering with the queen's attack on the f-pawn. You get the rook to f5, still with 3 attackers and 3 defenders on the f4 pawn. We get a rook taking on e6. Now we get the queen joining the attack on the f-pawn while also hitting the rook. So now there's 4 attackers and only 3 defenders. Get rook to d6, getting out of danger. Bobby takes with the bishop, and according to the engine, this is a blunder. The best move was to take the pawn on e5 as follows. So the best move was to take. And in this position, if white takes either the rook or the bishop, he's in big trouble. So let's say he takes on e5, then it's basically mate. If we get takes on g5, then it's mate in 3. So going back. In the game, Tal takes, Bobby takes, we get another capture, another one, and another one, and another capture. So there was a massive liquidation. Now we get a rook to the 7th rank from Tal. In this position, looking at the pawn structure, white has 3 pawn islands, black has 2. Both players have 5 pawns, but white has a passer on e5 and plus 3 on the bar. So Bobby attacks the pawn, Tal pushes his passer, Bobby defends with a king. We have check, the king moves, Tal takes, sweeping on the 7th rank, Bobby takes, and Tal continues to clean on the 7th rank. Bobby attacks the c-pawn. Ladies and gentlemen, Tal makes his first blunder. The engine wanted a rook to take on h7. And we have a blunder from Bobby as well, as he picks up the c-pawn. Tal cleaning on the 7th rank, and now has 2 passed pawns, and Bobby only has 1 at this point. Bobby pushes c4, so Tal has to decide, does it take or does it push the pawn? He pushes. Bobby pushes as well. Tal plays d5 to support his e-pawn. Bobby now going after the d-pawn while also making space for his c-pawn to run. Tal defends his pawn. We get c2 from Bobby, so close to promotion. Tal swings his rook over to cover the promotion square. Bobby attacks the rook with his king, and we get a rook to c4. Now Bobby pushes his pawn. The engine says it's a mistake and it wanted king to e7 instead. The bar now sitting at plus 7.3 in Tal's favor. Tal also pushes on the h-file. Tal also pushes on the h-file. And we get another blunder from Bobby here, ladies and gentlemen. I guess the idea would have been to distract the rook and then promote c8. So, for instance, if you take, you can see the bar immediately dropping mate in 12 and you are mating. So, in the game we got king to e5. Bobby continues to push his pawn. And now we get a horrible blunder from Tal when he pushed his d-pawn, because now it's a draw. Bobby finds the best move. Another blunder from Tal. Bar's now minus 2.7. Bobby blunders back. Bar going to 0. King to g4 from Tal. Bobby pushing the a-pawn, so there's 2 pawns close to promoting. And ladies and gentlemen, we get the final blunder from Tal with pawn to d7. Because now the rook can attack from behind. And the king can blockade the other pawn. Bobby plays king to e7, rook to c8 from Tal. Bobby now attacking the d-pawn twice. We get rook to e8 check, king f6, e7 from Tal, but now this is hopeless from him. Bobby takes on d7, attacking the pawn at the same time, and then would promote one of his pawns and win the game. And ladies and gentlemen, this was a dramatic game, and Tal resigned in this position. It's mate in 10, and the game would have continued as follows without much commentary. Okay, check. And it's mate in 3. So that's mate. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing.